Welcome back, everybody, to another Purpose Served podcast episode. I'm your legendary host, Darren Wingfield. We back to you with another one. If you're new to this podcast is simply about I try my best to inspire people to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be. And the more I keep making these podcast episodes, and the more I keep making content in general and developing my ideas further, I can't help but notice for myself personally that seeking the truth above all else is the most important thing. And not my truth, but the truth. And the truth is, the direction that we're heading in collectively as a whole is terrifying, to be quite honest. And the one thing that I want to talk about on this podcast episode today is something that I talked about in the past, and that's the conditions of the young adults and their health in society nowadays. And there's been studies on young adults and their successes and failures in education and employment, and how that is directly linked to their health. And of course, it sounds obvious when you hear these things, but the more educated equals healthier habits, and successful employment equals healthier habits, and lower levels of educational attainment and occupational success impact both physical and behavior health in a negative way. Coming from where I come from, North New Jersey, and other hoods across America and other impoverished places, this is prevalent. But when you in the heart of these environments, you're blinded to these matters at hand, and you don't know what the world is like outside of that. So all you know is lower levels of education. All you know is low levels of occupations, and the routes that typically get taken put your life in jeopardy. And it's terrifying for people that's near and dear to my heart that face these circumstances every day. They wake up to it because it's hard for them to really see the light at the end of the tunnel. And not only that, be that light that's at the end of the tunnel. Like a friend of mine, my boy Steve, who I bring up all the time, who created the Purpose Served logo, a legendary logo. But the one thing that we've been talking about is being that lighthouse that guides the boats to shore. But what if you are that boat that's at shore and that lighthouse is really, really far in the distance, and it's a stormy night and it's easy for you to lose your way? How do you make it to that lighthouse? And do you believe that you ever going to make it to that lighthouse? And when you are in these environments, that's not the case. You don't think that you're going to be able to make it to reach the end of the tunnel. And not only that, I'm noticing a pattern that they're lowering the standards for education and employment, which is not a good thing when you look at the collateral damage of it all. You giving people a cop-out plea. People are using less effort to really get what they want. And not necessarily that, because we hear about all the things of trying to get what you want, like 24/7 manifestation, how to get this in 24 hours, how to be attractive, how to be magnetic, how to, all of this God honest truth, please forgive my language, is bullshit. And I've been tired of this stuff, man. Like, God honest truth. I've been tired of all of it. I've been tired of all of it. And it's like collectively we being misguided instead of living authentically through the truth. And the truth of the matter is we all have a responsibility for being here, and it is our duty to uphold to that responsibility until the very end. And in that, you're going to find your purpose. And in that, you're going to find a service to contribute towards that purpose. When I break these things down outside of this podcast and when I teach this stuff, there's you gotta let your purpose take shape in some sort of form. And it starts off as a hobby through something that if you're lucky enough and blessed enough, it starts off as a hobby. And then once you get really, really good at it and you master it, you can then turn that thing into a service where you can prosper off of it. And the one thing that I've been preaching within these last couple of podcast episodes is simply me playing basketball, because that's what started all of this, to be quite honest. And now I'm starting to see the benefits in me playing basketball, while at the same time, just to be honest with y'all, I'm trying to remove myself away from the game as well to focus on my next phase of life, which seems more important than the game. And the game of basketball has blessed me tremendously with so much, to be quite honest. But the most important thing that the game has blessed me with is an insane work ethic. And the one thing that I've noticed, and I'm not sure if I talked about this in the last podcast episode, is self-initiative and being able to push myself when nobody's around. The 5 o'clock wake ups was insane when nobody was around. After having a wild night of partying, hanging out, smoking, drinking, doing whatever, I still found myself in the gym first thing in the morning. Did anybody care that I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning to be at the gym for 2 hours? No. But around, later on that night when 10, 11 o'clock start rolling around, people care about if you going out or not and having fun, especially if you're looked at as like the life of the party, or the crazy person that's down to do whatever, is going to do whatever, and is going to give somebody a good laugh or something to talk about. Don't be that person. Sorry. It's not worth it. You're going to look like a clown at the end of the day. I know this from personal experience, and it's going to leave you with an empty feeling. I know all of this from personal experiences. And ultimately, going back to the point of young adults and health conditions, the way that I was living, I was not contributing to the world and society around me as a whole in a positive way. I was a detriment. Whether it was minor or major, I definitely was a detriment. And I started to feel this in my spirit heavy. And I needed to change. But I didn't know where to go to for change. Of course, at the end of the day, it's the man upstairs. Not an actual man, but God. And whatever that is to you, but there's an intelligence behind all of these things. And if I didn't listen to that for myself, I wouldn't have been guided to do purpose served. And something that affected me very, very deeply and motivated me, which is one person that I find myself constantly bringing up on this podcast like crazy, is Kobe. But that day that he died, January 26th, it was like a crazy, crazy, crazy day. And that day when I had that conversation with my mom in regards to like, that was such a weird odd day for me because people knew that how much like Kobe inspired me to be the best version of myself that I could be on the basketball court when I thought my mission lied in going to the NBA. But maybe my mom said maybe this is one of those things that's also um, showing you that maybe that you could do more and inspire other people in like the same way. Not knowing a couple of months later that we was about to be entering in a pandemic, I was going to be moving back home with my mom, and not only that, a couple of months later, after I moved in with my mom, that I was going to be starting Purpose Served and starting this podcast, not knowing that I was going to be teaching and doing lectures on the practical ways you could go about serving your purpose. None of this stuff. It didn't dawn on me, but I knew that I wanted my voice to be heard, and I knew that I wanted to help people out that was in a similar situation as me. But most importantly, you gotta want it for yourself, like bad, like desperately bad to like make something of yourself. And doubt will creep in. Them self-talks that's telling you you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, all of that is going to creep in. It will creep in. And that lets you know who the real enemy is. It ain't nobody that's going to come across your path. It's not going to be your opponents on the opposite side if you do sports. And it's not going to be the critics that judge you for your art, that judge you for your music, that judge you for your creative ability. It's going to be yourself, ultimately speaking. And you have to learn how to be your own best friend, while at the same time not neglecting personal relationships and connections with people, because young adults in society now are forgetting that relationships and connections with people are the most important thing. And this is what's causing a rise in substance abuse and mental health disorders. And right now, due to the fact that these things are prevalent in our society, they're still coming up and trying to figure out ways to handle these distresses. And not only that, the generation that's right under us, I'm 30, but the generation that's right under us, I see that it's affected them like deeply bad, because some of them don't know what the world was like before phones was a part of our everyday use. And they don't know what the world was like before social media was a part of our everyday usage. And we get moved like further into a desensitized world where people worst moments are being caught on camera and they're getting put on blast by the world for a split second bad decision. Certain stuff is like justified, but a lot of things is, just think about that. Think about you at your worst moment and somebody recorded it and uploaded it, and 4.5 million people seen you at your worst moment. How would you feel knowing that you're that person? And going back to another thing that's alarming is that this has a huge impact. What I'm talking about with in regards to the success and failure of young adults, like on healthcare systems, national security, like these things should be taken extremely serious instead of looking at things as a joke, clickbait, and something to think about for 30 seconds before you move on to the next thing. A lot of y'all, if you're listening to this, your most important thing, if you haven't came across it yet, is finding your life work. Finding something that moves you so deeply that it's like, wow, this is gonna take my whole entire life to figure out, and I'm all in for it. I'm all in for it. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that found their life work throughout human history. To be quite honest, this is not something I guess like that's like new. But what is new is due to the access to so much information, it is dumbing us down. On the contrary, instead of making us smarter, we are fitting into a mold where everybody, it's like an all inclusive mode of being, and that's cool and all, but you have to be an individual that fits into a whole, that's able to move accordingly with the whole. That's the definition of unity. We big on definitions here. So look, what's the definition of unity? The state of being united or joined as a whole. The number one. Our body is an example of that. From head to toe, it forms a unity. Everything moves accordingly with itself, from your nervous system, from your organs, your heartbeat, your brain, the way that it communicates and sends signals throughout your body. And even outside of this, as much disharmony as we think we see, everything is going smooth. We on a rocket ship called Earth, right? And you don't ever feel turbulence. We're free flowing through space. How insane is that? Surrounded by other planets, other celestial bodies, other stars, and other galaxies. And that's insane. That's a part of that intelligence that I'm talking about, that orchestrated all of these things. You can believe what you want to believe. If you're an atheist, go on believing that there's not a God, and whatever your religious background is, but there's definitely an intelligence behind all of this to be able for us to observe that the highest intelligence work and still find it a mystery. That's insane. And it's so hard to communicate these things to people from the background that I come from, because it's not in their realm of perspective to actually think about. And especially when you surviving every day, when you gotta like look both ways before you cross the street, when you into it with a couple of guys from the other neighborhood, and you gotta maneuver around your own city in a certain way. And also, not only that, even the history behind who I am as a person, personally speaking, just I want to say 200-300 years ago, me being able to read and write and articulate myself would have got me killed, got me hung from a tree, got my hands cut off. But due to my ancestors that came before me and survived and just kept pushing the best that they possibly can, that I'm able to talk to you guys the way that I'm talking to you guys and see past beyond certain things that they were not blessed and granted to see. They was only meant to serve their part at that time. And I'm still blinding myself to a lot of things, and the world to me still is a mystery. But that doesn't mean that I should stray away from doing what I have to do. That I should stray away from serving my purpose. And I've always enjoyed certain things that honestly bring me peace, and it also includes like solitude. For example, reading is one of those things that I enjoy doing. A lot of people genuinely don't like reading because how boring it is. just reading words on pages and just pages on pages of words. It's not visually stimulated. But at the same time, the wealth of knowledge that I believe that books hold, man, it's like you unlock something in yourself that make you upgrade in the meta. And also being able to apply what I read, that's something that's like extremely crucial. And a lot of education attainment today in today's age, it's not applicable to what somebody wants to do. They just want to get that degree and get this sweet job and this sweet gig that they think they're going to pass through life with. But is that necessarily going to bring them fulfillment? Not necessarily. And I'm around a lot of people that work jobs that don't bring them fulfillment, and it bums them out and it brings them down, and you can feel their heavy spirit that they're dragging along every day. And when you have a light spirit yourself, that takes an effect on you. It most certainly do. It's like it almost like make you heavy in a sense. But my encouragement to you guys that's listening is to be that lighthouse instead of being that boat in the distance that's trying to make it to the lighthouse. And that's a lot to ask. That's not something that's simple. And the responsibilities that come with that is great. And it puts you in a leadership position. And in order for you to get to that point, you have to be able to follow. Kind of contradicting myself there, huh? But for me, and this is what I constantly tell the people that I'm training and the kids that I'm training, is just that I wish I had access to somebody like me that was willing to invest in them, because that would have made me push even that much more. But I didn't have that, and that's what made me ultimately into the person that I am today, where as though like the one thing that people keep asking me, well, not the one thing that people keep asking me, but I get asked to do like so many things, from training in basketball, from lecturing, and at this point, talking to people about the Word of God, to be quite honest. And it's a lot. It truly is a lot. And the one thing that I tell people from all of these different spaces and all of these different walks is I've been blessed to understand that my life is about serving other people. Being ultimately, as crazy as it sounds, is like, being a servant. Being a servant to like my calling. Most importantly, more than it is other people. So certain times when I get pulled in a certain direction, I have to say no to certain things, and it disappoints people. It really do. And you guys, don't be afraid about letting other people down. That means that you're chasing after your own greatness. And don't do it in a prideful way. Do it in the most humble way that you possibly can. A couple of podcasts ago, 2 podcasts ago, I talked about the 2 greatest commandments given, and that was love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your might, and with all your soul, and love your neighbor in the same manner as you love yourself. And the world would be such a better place. And every day I'm reminding myself of that. Every day I get that reminded to me. And that right there is the most important thing. Don't settle for less. Go after what you're supposed to go after. And not only that, you're just gonna live a better life. If you're a kid in high school that's randomly listening to this and you are doing terrible in your classes and you're like, what's the point of all of this? Just do it. Do your work. Push yourself every single day. Every single day presents a new opportunity. Tomorrow is not guaranteed and yesterday is over and done with, but you do have this moment. You do have this moment. And don't take it for granted. Because like whatever day that you're listening to this and this is reaching you, you're never going to live this day and this month and this year ever again. It's a one and done. That's how serious that you got to treat your own life. Even when people don't treat you in that same regard. If you start to take yourself serious, other people around you are going to start to take you serious. But if you clown around and you joke around and stuff like that, then the people are going to treat you like a clown and joke around with you. And this is not to say that there's no room to have fun and, crack jokes and stuff like that. Because I crack jokes all the time, to be quite honest. But when something is not funny anymore, it ain't funny. And when it's time to lock in, it's just simply time to lock in. Ain't no room for nothing else. And two worlds that I've been speaking on is the personal world and the natural world. But within those two worlds, you will find your purpose. And we all collectively experience those two worlds. And an example that I give of this is if you're a human being, we all share the same anatomy. But we all individually look at the world different because of where we're born at, the timing of our birth, how we was raised, the situation with our family, the situation with our friends. Even though we share the same anatomy, that's going to deeply affect your personal world. Let's go back to definitions yet again. We're going to look at what personal mean and what does natural mean. So personal. Of affecting or belonging to a particular person rather than to anyone else. So a particular person. So that's just simply you yourself. And everybody has a personal world within themselves. And what does natural mean? Existing in or caused by nature, not made or caused by humankind. What was already set in play before human beings existed. That's hard to even wrap your head around of what the world was like before human beings. But if you're listening to this podcast before, you already know what's about to be said. But look at the trees that grow out of the ground. Look at the sun beaming its light on this earth. Look at the clouds flowing through the sky. Look at the shores and the water, how the waves come back and forth. Those things do not need human beings. It's just there. And without those things that I just named, we wouldn't have life, especially human beings. We wouldn't be here to experience what needs to be experienced. And not only that, our realm of feeling and our intelligence and the way we go about maneuvering, we have a superpower to transform the world around us with our mind and our hearts. And my goal personally is to make sure that my mind and my heart moves on one accord. And that's an everyday battle to make sure those two are balanced. It's hard. It's difficult. And not only that, another battle is growing from a standpoint of getting more wiser, getting more smarter, gaining more discernment, because this world is moving in a place where we are easily deceived by shiny things, by if people have a mass following or not. that makes you drawn to them. But still be discerning. Still ask if this is the way to go. And if you are really, really honest with yourself, you will have the truth revealed to you. But if you want to live in a lie, you're going to keep getting lied to because you're lying to yourself. Harsh truths, but it is what it is. Welcome to the Purpose Served podcast. I'm starting to get hype on here. Yeah. But it's a battle, man. It's a battle. And unfortunately, in all walks of life, you're susceptible of being deceived. You're vulnerable at school. You're vulnerable at church. You're vulnerable in your synagogue. You're vulnerable in your mosque. Wherever you at, you got to have discernment. You got to walk around with this in the spirit of truth. If you're really, really looking for the truth and you're looking to live the truth will come to you. And it will show you what you need to be shown. But you just have to move accordingly with what the truth is. And the heart of the matter is that everything in existence has purpose. This is something that I constantly preach. And since you exist, you have purpose. That's your reason for living. And you have to make that purpose fit into some sort of form. And once you start living it out, you're going to make changes to yourself, and naturally it's going to make the changes to the world around you. I'm real life. I've witnessed it. I'm walking it right now as we speak, and it still shocks me, man. And I remember at a given point in time when I didn't have nowhere to stay. I was house hopping, and I'm just trying to find my way. And the epiphany came to me that I had to learn how to master myself because I couldn't. All the urges that came up, that's what would take over me, and I would move accordingly to whatever urges that I had, and it feel like I'm moving backwards. Why do I keep falling back into the same cycle? And instead of taking control over my own life, a lot of times I just played victim. But what helped me a great deal in gaining discipline is my love for the game of basketball and my love for God. I told y'all, I'm gonna stop shying away from speaking on my faith as well. This is a platform where I should be able to openly and freely talk to you guys, especially if you guys have been tuned in for as long as y'all been tuned in. I'm truly grateful. I'm truly, truly grateful. But yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot. But until next time, like I said, we closing in on 100 podcast episodes, which to me is utterly surprising, man. And I remember when just getting to 10 was that was the main mission. And I was seeing statistics on podcast success rates are extremely high within the first couple of episodes and stuff like that. And I don't know, at the now looking back at it, what does that even freaking mean, to be quite honest? Because I told y'all before, for the OG listeners, as long as I had one person listening to me, I was all right. I was fine. I wasn't looking for a billion people to listen to me. Having one person listen to me is that was cool in itself, because it felt as though I was talking to myself. And I really, really hope that these podcasts is helping you guys in some way, shape, or form. And love y'all, man. And thank y'all for constantly tapping in and listening to me, man. It truly, truly means the world to me. And until next time, thank y'all. Serve your purpose. Deuces!